Dear friends of financial institutions, today we'll analyze the upcoming Ethereum ETFs and how they can overtake Bitcoin. The US Security and Exchange Commission has given their preliminary approvals for the upcoming Ether ETFs that could already be start trading on from next Tuesday. Of course, dependent if the applicants submit their final document offerings by the end of this week. This marks a significant win for the crypto industry as it pushes digital assets more into mainstream. In this case, the biggest competitors in the race for Ether supremacy are BlackRock, Franklin Templeton, and Fidelity. And while so far the cost structure is pretty unstable, already some applicants decided on their fees, as Franklin Templeton leads the list with 0.19% sponsor fee. They also want to waive their sponsor fee for the first 10 billion in assets for the first 6 months. Van Eck has a pretty similar cost structure. Van Eck also aims to waive their sponsor fee of 0.2% for the first 1.5 billion in assets until a specific date in 2025. Invesco Galaxy just did a seed investment so far. They did a seed investment for $100,000 at 4,000 shares, making it $25 per share. Grayscale also did a seed investment of the same amount. However, they will have 10,000 shares at $10 a share. By the way, Grayscale also holds a Bitcoin trust. And so far, they have a similar structure regarding their fees, as they charge an asset management fee of expected to be around 2.5%. And they hold 2.92 million Ether so far. Fidelity just also did a seed investment. However, they did not decide on fees. They did a seed investment with FMR Capital of 4.7 million, making it $37.99 per share. And lastly on the list is BlackRock. They reportedly did a seed investment of 10 million. However, they did not announce also the fees that they want to charge. But I expect that the fee structure will be pretty similar like for the Bitcoin ETF that they launched. It will likely be a very low, above 0.3%, as they want to be very competitive and gather as much clients as possible in the start. And this brings us to the next point. What is expected out of the Ethereum ETFs? Well, it's expected to draw a significant demand from institutional and also retail investors. And while of course everyone knows that the market cap of Ether is a lot smaller than the one from Bitcoin, it's expected that around 20% of the Bitcoin ETF inflows will be generated for the Ether ETFs. So this could already be 4 billion in new Ether that could be generated in the first 6 months, which could already be a major factor in driving up the Ethereum price. It goes even crazier. Some experts even argue that the Ethereum ETFs will be more successful than the Bitcoin ETFs. But first, let's put this into context. Well, of course, everyone knows that the Bitcoin ETFs were a major success in the US. As while it was originally surprising, as first Grayscale was the biggest fund. They were a Bitcoin trust and they transitioned from a closed-end fund. And this led to a lot of outflows as their management fee was a lot higher than the other ones. While this was a problem, it didn't really seem to matter for the other ETFs, as they amassed 6.6 billion in the first 3 weeks and 11 billion after just 1 month. And some of us still remember this. It drove up the price of Bitcoin to above 50,000. But let's look at the reasons. Why could it overtake the Bitcoin ETFs? Well, first, it's the market depth and liquidity. The Ether market depth and liquidity is very low at the moment. Also, its exchange reserve are very low, at multi-year lows. And this could mean scarcity. And scarcity could potentially drive up the price, especially as there's more institutional demand for Ether. Also, there are even some experts that argue that there could be inflows of even 10 billion in Ethereum. And of course, while this is very optimistic, it could massively drive up the price. It's also important to not forget that the market sentiment is a lot better, as when the Bitcoin ETFs launched, the market sentiment was not so great. In this case, it's still a couple days after the Trump assassination, and Bitcoin in general, the crypto market, seems to be more in an upwards trend so far. But can they really overtake Bitcoin? Well, in my opinion, there are very crucial factors that are actually very interesting. First, the inflation rate. The inflation rate is actually, in the case of Ethereum, is nearly 0%, which could be kind of surprising, as the inflation rate of Bitcoin was 1.7% since the Bitcoin ETFs. And this could basically mean that no Ethereum have been added in the supply, and this means scarcity. And as like I mentioned, if in this case it could be even on the go to the opposite end as well. There is currently 0% inflation rate, which is possible. For example, if in Ethereum the network activity is very high, a lot of Ethereum is burned in gas. And this led really to a basically 0% inflation fee, which is of course pretty crazy, as it could mean that if the scarcity continues like this, that once the Ether ETFs will buy new Ethereum, that the price will go up and up and up. And this could be a very crucial factor, as the Bitcoin ETFs also saw a major surge. In the case of Ethereum, it might be even the case that, which I think will happen, that the institutional interest will drive up the network activity, and it could even lead to a negative inflation rate, which basically means more is burned than received. Of course, this would be pretty massive. It's basically like buying shares back in the companies in the traditional financial world. On the other side, what is also very interesting is the mining. Well, in the case of Bitcoin, the miners, they of course mine and create the Bitcoins. However, it's a lot easier for them to sell them. For Ether, it's not so easy, as they operate with proof of stake. And this means there's always something that has to be basically kept as a collateral that cannot be sold. And this can prevent the selling pressure for miners, that, for example, is a crucial factor for Bitcoin. As Bitcoin miners usually sell their Bitcoins, of course they have to at a certain point. This especially can happen after the Bitcoin halving. When the price goes up, usually the Bitcoin miners sell. However, in the case of Ethereum, 27% and 13% have to be kept. So this means they cannot be sold, which of course could act more as a stabilizer. So this could be very crucial factors. And also, when looking at the technological aspect, Bitcoin represents more the side of the store of value, the gold side. However, Ethereum offers more utility. It goes more in the direction of blockchain technology and innovation with decentralized finance and applications. However, I have to say there are also some points that might you lead to consider that this might not be possible. For example, Bitcoin is a store of value, and this makes it more attractive for people, as it's a lot easier to understand. As while technology is very interesting, Ethereum has not really proved so far that they're really a stable asset in bad economic times. And this is one of the reasons why people like like gold so much, because it has proven to be very good in bad economic times. So this is also a very crucial factor. And I have to say, I don't think they will generate the same inflows, as the market capitalization is a lot different. The market capitalization is a lot different, and the institutional interest is still more on the Bitcoin side. So I have to say, I think that relative to its size, however, I think the impact will be bigger for the Ether ETFs, as I think that the inflation rate is a very crucial factor. If it could be even negative, it would be amazing. However, we have to see how this goes, as if the network activity really explodes with the Ether ETFs, this might be a crucial factor in driving up the price. On the other side, I have to say the Bitcoin ETFs, they are more accepted. They are widely accepted. And in the case of Ether, for example, there are still some regulatory questions, and the technology is just evolving. So this might be too risky for people, especially in better economic times where Ethereum has not proven to be a solid investment. Also, for example, there are still some legal questions to be asked regarding staking. This is still something that needs to be worked out legally. I personally think that the relative impact for Ether ETFs will be a lot bigger. So it might be the case that someday, maybe, Ethereum could be potentially overtaking Bitcoin if the use cases really expand, and if especially blockchain technology comes more into our everyday households. I also recently did a video about one of the potential use cases that could come in hand with a blockchain like Ethereum. I talked about the digitalization of real estate, which could basically mean that real estate can be traded digitally with tokens, for example, in the commercial real estate. This might also be an application that could come in the future, and this could, of course, be pretty useful for also the financial market. And this might lead people to consider that there are more use cases of Ethereum, and it's not just Bitcoin. Also, let me know your opinion. Let me know what you think. Do you think that the Ethereum ETFs will be more successful than Bitcoin? Do you think they will be relatively more successful, like I think? Let me know. Also, make sure to check out my previous videos that I recently uploaded, also about the digitalization of real estate. This could also be a very interesting project that is also even starting to launch this year. As always, it's not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just trying to make these videos to educate people about this amazing technology. That's it for today. I will see you in the next video.